Okay, next up we have another ASP person. We have Greg Schultz, and he's going to be talking about the ASP Eclipse Stars.
All right, thanks. All right, yes, my name is Greg Schultz. I'm a senior scientist and educator at the ASP. And this program I'm talking about was funded by the NSF Division of Astronomy, as you can see listed here. It's been less than a year since we were funded for this. We were funded late summer, and we had to quickly ramp up and start our, as I'll talk about the training and the getting out kits and whatnot for folks. But moving on, here were the project goals. Primary goal was just to train different groups of scientists and educators in order to successfully engage either public audiences or students in the awe and wonder of the total solar eclipse. There are some specific objectives. I won't list them all here, but basically you see the one that says professional development materials and resources. Those were the key things we were trying to accomplish with this. And the two communities were overlapping but had some commonalities. Here's the final result. I'll just cut to the chase on this part of it, the numbers that we had. We trained and supported 230 educators and 74 scientists. Original goal was 200 educators and 100 scientists. Turns out the scientists were harder to recruit, and I can talk about that if you like, but one of the main differences was we actually gave stipends to all the educators, $300. We didn't give stipends to scientists. We figured they had more, that they didn't need it, but maybe that could have helped them, I don't know. The way they were distributed geographically is shown in these maps. They were across 32 states. We concentrated more on the path of totality or near the path of totality, and that was a priority for NSF, actually. We value the Eclipse Ambassadors work, which was especially for a lot of off-the-path folks, but this was a priority for this one. But we definitely had folks who were doing things off the path as well, but we were hoping to get as close as possible. They all received a toolkit, and that was similar to what Kat was talking about with the Eclipse Ambassadors program, but there was some slight differences. They all got those kits mailed to them ahead of a professional development program, and then some other access to resources, videos, articles, guides, and such. Oh, and you maybe wonder, how did these two programs, did they intersect at all? Well, we had a few people who did a little bit of both, but really they were meant to be two entirely different groups. Like it was said, undergraduates and then the amateur astronomers or eclipse enthusiasts. That was the Eclipse Ambassadors program funded by NASA. This was K-9, primarily K to 9th grade educators, teachers, and then scientists who were either graduate students, postdocs, or more senior. So we were both represented at the AAS meeting in New Orleans in January, did recruitment there, and we asked them, and we see a young person come along, are you an undergraduate or are you a graduate student? And I was kind of like, okay, we'll talk to them about those two different programs that way. Also cutting to the chase here, we proposed that the number of people who would be reached by the programs run by Eclipse Stars, just through an estimate, that would be about 30,000. We actually got through the reports from all the folks who did their programs, that added up to over 135,000. Now, of course, that's quite a range of folks. Some people, classroom teachers, elementary classroom of maybe 20, that may be all they had. And they get a lot more in-depth programming, but then we had a lot of folks doing larger public events. And so it just adds up to be really impressive. Recruitment, I won't read all this, just shows just how the messaging was for the two different cohorts of folks. For the educators on top and for the scientists on the bottom. That picture over there was supposed to be over on the right, sorry. Professional development, how it lists, there's two different strands of training. Each of them were 3-hour online Zoom sessions, and they covered, the bullets show different, with the main priorities that were covered. They differed and you can see in the bottom paragraphs, the scientist workshops focused more on developing their public engagement practices. They didn't need the content, skills that the teachers did as much. So what we did with the educators was, of course, focus more on what they could do in their classrooms and make sure that it was aligned with their standards that they had to follow. And then there's some of the topics you can see are listed there, enumerated 1 through 5 for each type of workshop. Oh, and one of the most popular things, the third bullet up in the top portion, yardstick eclipse. Maybe many of you have come across it. It's been our most popular resource by far, I think, in both programs, and we know many of you are using it out there as well. All right, I know this is going to be hard to read. Maybe actually it's bigger than I imagined when I put this into the PowerPoint. But anyhow, at the end of each workshop, we'd ask folks, if you've ever used a Jamboard, you can take a sticky note and then move it and then type into it. And so we gave them that, or told them to respond to the prompt that says, I used to know, or I used to think, sorry, but now I know. And so some of these are quite interesting. I used to think that, I'm gonna look, I don't have a pointer, but anyhow, the bottom right says, I used to think that an eclipse was rare, now I know that they occur often. Pick another one. I used to think that solar eclipses only occurred 6 months apart. I didn't know they could occur 2 months in a row. The various surprises and things that I learned, even in just 3 hours. So this is a way to quickly capture what things we accomplished, in their minds that they really gained from the training. There was a more thorough evaluation. We have a firm called Rockman et al. That we hired to do or contracted with to do both formative and summative evaluation. They did surveys right after each workshop, and they had items in those surveys that address things you can see in yellow in the top portion bullets. Of course, they were flavored differently for the educators than they were for the scientists. And in both groups, we were also asked about their eclipse experiences in post-eclipse surveys. For more information, you can email me at that address up there. And as Kat thankfully also mentioned, we encourage you to come and learn more at our conference in August, virtual conference. We call it Astronomy Across the Spectrum, Education and Outreach Everywhere, All at Once. So it's the spectrum idea can be interpreted in different ways. I like to think of it as, you can think about the wavelengths of the spectrum and that we do in astronomy, but also I like to think of education and outreach as quite a broad thing. You have small classroom settings or small interactions you might have at a table at a museum or a festival, to big events where people talk and engage large groups. And it's happening everywhere all at once. So anyhow, hopefully you can come and share what you've been doing in your work, and I'd love to entertain any further questions. I know we're running late.
Questions for Greg? No. Yep. Jen's going to ask you a question. She's full of questions.
While she's walking up, I just want to say thank you, because my partner teacher in the science club that I ran was an Eclipse Star. So thank you.
Awesome.
I also want to thank you. The yardstick activity is so mobile in nature, and I really appreciate it's the favorite that I saw from every place I took it.
Yeah, we love how it travels.
Yeah.
You can pack it in a suitcase.
I just wondered, whenever you're surveying scientists, what are you, how do you delicately investigate their maybe ability to be culturally responsive, or
Good luck with
that.
Yeah.
What instruments did you use? Because that's I understand the education aspect, the education confidence and all that. That's awesome. But I really liked that you also were looking as the scientist. How are you looking at that?
Is it lists here? I mean, we can't ask everything, and we're not certainly not going to give them a quiz on how well they learned the things. I mean, that's even the educators, we would never do that to either. But the idea is focusing on largely around what they gain from it, in their confidence, because some of them come in as complete novices or relative novices with working with public audiences, and recognizing how we can help them improve those skills, and talk about techniques to listen or be attentive to their audiences that many scientists sometimes just speak right over their heads, right? So we're very cognizant. We've had a number of programs at the ASP where we've been developing these skills over the years, and so we applied that to this effort in this short, less than 12-month window that we had with this program. So
this was like a mentoring program too.
A bit, yeah, and there was ongoing support after the events, and so yeah, we do our best to mentor them and want them to be a part of our community as we go forward. So that's part of our goals.
Thank you.
Sure. All right.
Okay.